Since the release of the heavily redacted Epstein files, one name has gone silent. Bill Gates. No interviews, no statements. Just a billionaire lying low, while the public races to catch up on what we've been reporting on for years. Epstein's network was never just about trafficking. It was about power, eugenics, depopulation, and the long game of controlling humanity itself. Gates believed that money could bury the truth by the media and corrupt government officials. He thought he could bury the stench of evil under foundations and philanthropy. But the cover-up is falling apart in real time. Now, leaked files, verified explosive and deeply disturbing, are circulating on the dark web, revealing grotesque science experiments on Epstein Island that cross from science fiction into outright horror. And when the public finally learn the truth about Gates and Epstein's sinister bromance, the consequences won't just expose a man, they'll shatter the myth of who really runs the world. Before we dive in, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and join the People's Voice Locals community to join our incredible community, support the channel, and gain access to exclusive and uncensored content. The released, heavily redacted Epstein files show that Gates was far closer to Epstein than the public was led to believe. But the details of their crimes? Gone. Blacked out by FBI redactions that serve one purpose: protecting the cabal. Yet not everybody inside the agency is loyal to that order. Some refuse to accept that a VIP paedophile network will never face justice. Those insiders are now releasing highly disturbing, unredacted material, designed to ensure that Gates' carefully protected world enters its final countdown.
Shocking new report on the connection between Microsoft founder Bill Gates and the late Jeffrey Epstein. In connection with Epstein, and MIT Media Lab outlines numerous meetings between Gates and Epstein, a connection between their foundation and JP Morgan to set up a charitable fund that would financially benefit Epstein.
Flight logs revealed that Gates had flown on Jeffrey Epstein's private jet. An email surfaced showing disgraced MIT Media Lab director Joy Ito. He had helped cover up Jeffrey Epstein's identity as an anonymous donor to the lab, informing his staff that a $2 million donation to the lab in 2014 was a gift from Bill Gates, directed by Jeffrey Epstein.
This was never just trafficking. That was the cover story spread by the media. Bill Gates oversaw the cloning of thousands of children on Epstein Island in a deep state genetic slaughterhouse. Beneath the island was a military-grade biotech lab built with CIA black budgets, Mossad support, and big tech billionaires funneling millions through Gates' proxies.
Epstein wanted to use the ranch for controlled breeding, using his DNA to improve humanity. Epstein surrounded himself with leading scientists and would tell them he wanted to have 20 women impregnated at a time on the ranch.
Hoped to seed the human race with his DNA, put a modern gloss on a very old idea. Mr. Epstein's vision reflected his long-standing fascination with what has become known as transhumanism, the science of improving the human population through technologies like genetic engineering and artificial intelligence. Critics have likened transhumanism to a modern-day version of eugenics, the discredited field of improving the human race through controlled breeding. Epstein's interest in genetics led him to sponsor a number of scientists working in the field, including George Church, a Harvard geneticist whose lab received funding from Epstein's foundation. Church also acted as scientific advisor to Editas Medicine, a startup seeking to use the genome editing tool CRISPR-Cas9 to eliminate diseases by deleting the parts of a genetic code responsible for the illness. The company announced it had raised $120 million from a group led by Epstein's appointed backup executor, Dr. Boris Nikolic. That group of investors included Bill Gates.
The elite thought disappearing Epstein would solve all of their problems. They were wrong. In July last year, Ghislaine Maxwell broke her silence from prison. She told us she was burnt by the elite, who promised her a sweetheart deal. She also said she remembers every name on the client list, and that she wants to testify before Congress. Then came the real bombshell: Bill Gates and the Butterfly Trust. Covered up by the mainstream media, this shadowy group, recently forced to settle with victims, was heavily funded by Bill Gates. According to Maxwell, it was the beating heart of Epstein and Gates' eugenics project, a covert breeding operation to clone babies born into slavery and seed the earth with elite DNA.
I wasn't allowed to go get food. And when I called Ghislaine and asked why I couldn't eat there, she said, "It's a Jewish country club. You're not Jewish. They're not going to serve you." This is how this woman spoke to me. Yeah, this is how these people think, Whitney. They, honest to God, think their DNA is better than everybody else's. I swear to you. It was a theme all the time with them. With Eileen Guggenheim, with Jeffrey Epstein, with Ghislaine. It was a theme. Jeffrey was a lot less horrible than Ghislaine as far as a human being, like just being around, because she was just as many children. Yeah, you wouldn't believe the way Jeffrey and Ghislaine spoke about African Americans. It was like, it made my skin crawl. Anybody who was not Jewish, and you're right about this, but the way they spoke about them, it was really horrifying.
Sick? Absolutely. But it gets worse. This wasn't fringe science. This was industrial-scale eugenics. Epstein funded Harvard and MIT CRISPR gene editing research, and the files he left behind show children were used as raw materials for experiments that make Nazi Dr. Joseph Mengele look like he was taking the Hippocratic Oath seriously. For years, the pieces didn't quite fit. Epstein, transhumanism, the WEF, the IDF, secret experiments, thousands of missing children. It all felt too dark, too incomprehensible, too wild to be real. But it was real. Epstein was working on genetically engineering black people to make them smarter, and women to make them more empathetic. Then there was the baby cloning experiments with Gates, long whispered about by survivors. And the evidence is now emerging that the scale is massive. We're talking about thousands of children born without parents, without birth certificates, completely outside the protection of the law. The files are damning. And Gates? He's scrambling because he knows what's in those documents. The money, the research, the agenda. It all points back to him. Gates wasn't just funding global health, he was bankrolling the very foundation of Epstein's eugenics obsession. We have the disgusting details that will ensure that Gates is caged for the rest of his unholy life, right after this important word from our sponsor. Today's sponsor is pillsforever.com. If you think Big Pharma have your best interests at heart, think again. The price of medicine in America has skyrocketed, and there are certain medicines Big Pharma don't want you to know about. That's why I've partnered with pillsforever.com. All of their FDA-approved medicines are the cheapest you'll find anywhere. More importantly, you can order medicines that Big Pharma don't want you to have, such as ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and fenbendazole. Speaking of fenbendazole, not only does it get rid of parasites that live inside your body, there have been studies that show fenbendazole can help with cancer. Listen to this bombshell interview with Mel Gibson, who says 3 of his friends who had terminal cancer were cured by the very same ivermectin and fenbendazole available at pillsforever.com.
I have 3 friends. All 3 of them had stage 4 cancer. All 3 of them don't have cancer right now at all. And they had some serious stuff going on.
And what did they take?
Jesus. They took some, what you've heard they've taken.
Ivermectin.
Fenbendazole.
Fenbendazole, yeah. Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot.
They drank hydrochloride something or other.
Get 15% off using coupon code People's Voice at the checkout. Please click the link below this video to take advantage of this fantastic offer. This isn't speculation anymore. The truth is this. The global elite have been playing gods for decades, drunk on the power to create and destroy life at will, cloning babies, harvesting adrenochrome, torturing and killing in rituals hidden behind wealth, science, and philanthropy.
And also in New Mexico, I saw a UFO there, and then I woke up in a laboratory with people working on me, 6 people in hazmat suits, or I don't even know if they were people.
Did you get drugged?
And I don't actually know. They didn't allow any alcohol or drugs there, but they could have drugged me.
Did you ever see the movie? I'm only asking this because I think that sometimes they let secrets out through Hollywood films to either desensitize people or to make them think, oh, this is just Hollywood, it doesn't real. But there's a movie called Blink Twice, where basically they take these girls to an island, they drug them unknowingly, so much so that they don't even know what's going on, they don't even have a memory. Do you think maybe something like that might have been going on?
I think it's even worse than that, to be honest, because I think what they've got there is underground laboratories. Epstein's ranch is directly in between Dulce Base and Roswell. As we all know, the military have got underground bases. I think, much like the movie series Westworld, if they could breed, create their own farm of humans, and if they really are drinking adrenochrome, it would make sense for them to create their own farm of humans. So with everything that happened, I suddenly realized that I think they were taking our eggs.
But now the evidence is surfacing. Despite the DOJ's attempt to redact everything, the files are leaking, and the survivors, like Juliette Bryant, are bravely speaking out.
Phenomenal woman. She spent almost 2 years with Epstein and Maxwell. So she was out of South Africa, and she ended up getting spotted as a model when she was a teenager. And then as she's submitting the work and stuff, falls into the clutches of Epstein and Maxwell, who took her to the States, took her to the island. The evil deeds began. And she was on the Lolita Express with Kevin Spacey, with Bill Clinton, and all these huge names. And she was saying that, you know, when Bill Clinton would come out of a certain room, there was a smell of death, like corpses and cleaning chemicals attached to him.
The soft, innocent name, the Butterfly Trust, is the key to unlocking what was really happening behind closed doors and in underground facilities. The godlike powers the elite were playing with, the twisted game they were running on humanity, and their endgame, a controlled, engineered world with mass depopulation at its core. Gates and Epstein weren't just dabbling in science, they were leading the charge in the most satanic experiment in human history, human cloning. According to multiple sources, including Maxwell herself, they were directly involved in the first successful cloning of a human being in a private lab in the Bahamas back in 2002. And it didn't stop there. Since that breakthrough, thousands of cloned children have been created, raised in secrecy, used for trafficking, experimentation, and worse. Some were harvested for adrenochrome. Others were broken, psychologically and physically. All of them were hidden until now.
Juliette Bryant is one of the last Epstein survivors still breathing, and what she's revealing now, they do not want getting out.
My name is Juliette Bryant. I was kidnapped by Jeffrey Epstein from Africa. I was supposed to be a model for Victoria's Secret in New York. Instead, I was kidnapped to the island. A lot of frightening things happened there. They don't want the victims speaking out in the media.
She wasn't just trafficked. She was moved from Epstein's island to his private lab in New Mexico. There, she says she woke up paralyzed, naked, on a steel table, hazmat suits around her, no memory, just fear. And here's what's f***ed. At that exact time, on an island in the Bahamas, a company called Clonaid claimed they successfully cloned the first human baby. Her name? Eve. It's not a theory. That happened. December 2002. So while Juliette was being trafficked, Epstein was deep in cloning, transhumanism, and eugenics. This wasn't just sex crimes. This was a scientific black site run by a monster. She says he shapeshifted in front of her.
Epstein shapeshifted in front of me. It's very hard to understand if you haven't seen it, but I saw it. It was like a weird hologram, and it had like big black eyes.
His form flickered like a hologram. Horns grew from his head. His eyes turned pitch black. Huge, alien, soulless. She didn't see a man. She saw something reptilian.
I think they were taking our eggs. They had the butterfly trust. The human hips are shaped like a butterfly. So if they were taking our eggs, it would make sense. It connects the dots of the butterfly trust.
And the other survivors? Most of them are dead, like Virginia, Carolyn, and Juliette. She's still here. She's still warning us. This is a spiritual war, but nobody ever said the battles weren't going to be physical.
Gates' vision was so dark, so twisted, that even certified villains like Bill Clinton, who had no problem rubbing shoulders with Epstein, drew the line when it came to his obsession with cloning unregistered human babies.
Were they taking our eggs? Virginia Gaffer said that they wanted to take a baby from her.
Your baby, but it would really be our baby, and we would have you sign a document that says...
Clonaid, very nearby in the Bahamas, made the first baby Eve in 2002, the same year I was taken there. Clinton banned funds being used for human cloning in 1997, 1 year after Dolly the sheep was cloned in 1996.
Cloning and baby farms were all the rage in the late 90s and early 2000s. As the elite understood, the public had no clue what they were doing behind closed doors. Hollywood actors, directors, including Michael Bay and even Oprah Winfrey herself, were involved.
I met Michael Bay, who made The Island, the movie about cloning there. I also met many scientists. As we all know, Oprah visited the island. Oprah, who was friends with John of God, who ran a baby farm.
Bryant isn't staying silent, and she's got a powerful message for anybody still claiming that there's no Epstein list, that Ghislaine Maxwell trafficked children to no one, and that it's all just a conspiracy. Her message is simple: follow the money. If there was nothing to see here, why did JP Morgan pay out hundreds of millions of dollars to Epstein's victims? And why was Epstein's account still moving millions years after his so-called suicide? And why was Bryant herself quietly awarded 2 separate settlements for a total of at least $2 million? The money trail doesn't lie, and the deeper you dig, the darker it gets.
Why did JP Morgan have to pay $290 million to the victims? And also, why was there $1 billion worth of human trafficking transactions found between Epstein and JP Morgan's accounts?
Representative Tim Burchett went on national television and said it plain: follow the money when it comes to Epstein.
I want to know the money trail. I want to know who employed. Was Epstein a foreign agent? Who are his benefactors?
We couldn't agree more. That's why we traced the funding trail from Epstein's Butterfly Trust, quietly funded by Bill Gates and fueled by his obsession with cloning and eugenics. And it may be the key that finally ties everything together. Follow the Butterfly Trust and you start to see the full picture. Epstein wasn't acting alone. He was part of something much bigger, an elite engineered blueprint for a post-human future. According to Maxwell, many of the thousands of cloned children are already dead, used, abused, and discarded by the elites like broken toys. But others, they're still out there, alive, hidden in plain sight, given new identities, new backstories, and walking among us. And most will never know where they came from. But the illusion is cracking, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's why in 2026, the elite are cracking down on us, surveilling us, censoring us, and threatening us with prison for hate speech crimes. If you're interested in researching dangerous topics, you've got to protect yourself, especially now that the world's leading VPNs have been infiltrated and compromised from the inside. Did you know that WF-controlled Proton VPN and Israel have infiltrated and compromised Nord, PIA, Surfshock, and countless others? If you're using these VPNs, cancel your subscription right now. You're under attack. In 2026, real protection exists. VP.net, built from scratch to be verifiable and unbreakable. Every connection is shielded by mathematically provable cryptography. No logs, no data, nothing for governments to seize. Fast, unhackable, and just $5.55 a month for our viewers. Check them out. vp.net/TPV. They're legit. And your subscription funds the world's first open source audited privacy network, powered by people, not corporations. Join the movement at vp.net/TPV.